liberty, and justice for all. I'll call the June 21st meeting of the Common Council to order. Please call the roll.
Councillor Olson.
Here.
Councillor Tom Fennessy.
Here.
Councillor Bender.
Here.
Councillor Sweeney.
Here.
Councillor Brent Fennessy.
Here.
Councillor Garfield.
Here.
Councillor Ludwig.
Here.
Councillor Herrick.
Here.
Councillor Kern is excused, and Councillor Dahlbeck is excused.
Recognizing the quorum, we'll proceed. I'll seek your concurrence for the June 7th council meeting minutes.
Move for approval. Second.
For the motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
Item 6 is a consent agenda.
Motion to approve. Second.
For the motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
Item 7.1, Environmental Services Director Roberts requesting approval of the sewer lining project 2016 to Insuform Technologies USA LLC in the amount of $138,918.
Motion to approve. Second.
For the motion and second, discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
7.2, Planning Director Circus submitting City of Superior and Superior Water, Light and Power release of utility easements in previously vacated portions of Broadway Street and East 3rd Street.
Motion to approve. Second.
For the motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
7.3, Planning Director Circus requesting the review and approval of the Community Development Investment Grant Agreement between the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation and the City of Superior relating to the redevelopment of the Empire Block located at 1202 through 1208 Tower Avenue.
Jason?
Councilors, if you took a look at my memorandum, I had a couple of stipulations in there, and I was hoping to have the actual finished contract back from WEDC. I don't have that yet. So I think what I would like to do is if we can amend or just have the resolution or the approval item contingent upon the $200,000 change as well as adding Terry to the signature block. That's all I guess I'm asking, so that once it comes, we can get it signed up and move it forward.
I would so move. Second.
For the motion and second, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Item 7.4. 7.4, Parks, Recreation, and Forestry Director Gadad is requesting waiver of the city ordinance prohibiting the use of pesticides on city-owned property for the use of an all-natural insecticide repellent for an event to be held July 2nd at Barker's Island Festival Park.
Move for approval. Second.
For the motion and second, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
7.5, Linda is also requesting approval for the grant agreement for engineering services on the Wisconsin Point Dunes Restoration Project in the amount of $170,000.
Motion to approve.
Heard the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
7.6, Linda is also requesting to award the engineering services for the Wisconsin Point Dunes Restoration to Leggett, Brashears, and Graham in the amount for the proposed not to exceed amount of $109,885.
Motion to approve.
You've heard the motion in a couple of seconds. Councillor Herrick.
Yeah, I just have a question for Linda. Do you see, thanks for getting a grant for this. Now, when the project actually comes to fruition, do you see any more grants available through NOAA or anything like that to actually do the project?
Great question. Actually, Mary Morgan is responsible for securing the grant, but I am the fortunate recipient to being able to carry the project forward through the design.
Sure.
NOAA has indicated interest in providing that grant.
Okay.
Until the engineering design is finalized, they can't say with certainty, but
Sure.
that is the intent.
Okay,
And there's no match for the engineering, and
Okay.
the intent would be that unless we change the scope of the project, that there would not be a match for the design or the construction as well.
Okay, thank you.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
Item 8.1, Mayor Hagan is appointing Maggie Bear and reappointing Gloria Olson to the Library Board, reappointing Joe Flaherty, Mike Meehan, and Hattie Cross to the Mayor's Commission on Disabilities.
Motion to approve. Second.
For the motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
Item 10.1 is the resolution introduced by the Common Council concerning the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources Compliance Maintenance Annual Report for 2015.
Motion to approve. Second.
Heard the motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
Item 10.2 is a resolution by the City of Superior City Council urging the governor and legislature to hashtag JustFixItWisconsin and agree upon sustainable solution that includes a responsible level of bonding and adjust user fees to adequately and sustainably fund Wisconsin's transportation system.
Motion to approve. Second.
You've heard the motion and second. Counselor Herrick.
Yeah, just one quick question. Does anybody know if there's any, I know what they're after because we remember this from Spear Days, but is there a percentage we're looking at as far as increases that they're looking at to help fund all these roads that you're aware of?
Yeah, a good question. There's several measures that have been considered. All of them have failed. If you recall, the bonding for transportation projects fell short of $500 million this last spring, I believe. There were some proposals with regard to license fees and registration that fell short also. So those are the three areas I think they were looking at.
Okay, thank you.
Motions before you, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Item 12.1, Ron Chica, Director of the Metropolitan Interstate Councils, providing an update on transportation projects.
Jason?
Thank you, Mayor. Councilors, Ron, most of you know Ron. He's been the director for, well, how many years, Ron? About maybe a little longer than 10 years. He was once my boss, and we usually try to have Ron come at least once a year or so to do an update on what the MIC is up to, kind of fill you in on a couple of projects that usually Todd and myself and Chris are involved in, and go from there. So, Ron?
Very good, thanks, Jason. Thank councilors, the mayor for having the opportunity to talk before folks tonight. As Jason mentioned, we have a long history of working with staff here, and it's very nice to have with the city and the county. So glad to come out and just give a few minutes. I only have a few slides. I was warned I can't go real long. To talk about transportation in this area. Again, I'm Ron Chica, direct the Metropolitan Interstate Council of Duluth Superior. Our offices are in Duluth. I should say we have offices over here in the courthouse too. We've had some space over there the last couple of years when we're doing some work around here. So, let's see, with that, and I know there's a number of the counselors here are familiar with the MIC and some of our work, but just for those who are not, it's a federal designation. We follow the federal transportation bill. I follow work in DC, or sometimes not so much work in DC, because that's where about 80-85% of our funding is from. The idea is that in a metropolitan area, you plan as a whole, as a metro area. Doesn't matter about a state line. It's whatever your metropolitan area is. All areas of 50,000 or more have one of us that do transportation, all modes of transportation in a metropolitan area, showing needs. We do a lot of analysis, and it's a conduit for federal funds that come back to this area as well. We do long-range planning. We have a long-range DSMIC, dsmic.org is our website. We're in the middle of updating it. But for the most part, that's some of the main things we do is long-range planning, and then the federal funds, gas tax funds that come back to this area also funnel through us. Projects that use federal funds and have to flow through us, and I'll give one example here in a second. This is our planning area. Again, Duluth, Superior, Hermantown, Proctor, some of the townships. This is how it's designated. Population of roughly 145, 150,000 or so. Who do we work with? We are housed in ARDC, Regional Development Commission in Duluth. But then We also then work with all elected officials here. I have a board, a policy board, that's some of the folks right here. Appreciate the long association with well, it was Tom and Warren and Dan and Graham, and there's been others over the years. That's how we get some of our work moving through. We do plans that could stack up 20 feet, but it has to do with the elected officials aiding our projects moving through the council, county board, what have you. So there's some citizen reps. The mayor appoints an individual to our board, 18-member board, Duluth Superior, Hermantown, the counties, St. Louis, Douglas County Board, some township officials, and then Transit Authority. The transit folks are a very key partner with with many things that we do. Different committees, technical committee, a harbor one, which we're kind of known very well for, very unique, all things in the maritime vein. Jason's has assisted on that throughout the years. And we also have, the last few years, all things bike and ped. Bike and pedestrian, the needs in this area. We've done some trail planning and routes that are on the road, a number of other things. So what are we currently working on? I mentioned the long-range plan. That's sort of a policy document that talks about level of service, roadway needs across the area. Without going into acronyms much, Transportation Improvement Program is something where I mentioned before all the federal funds have a way of gas tax funds have a way of going to each state, and then they're doled out via population. Superior doesn't get, as some folks know here, a whole lot, but there's usually a project or two. Besides, there's Douglas County projects, there's the state has their projects in this area. But for example, I think it's next year after, as Belknap Street has its major work here starting next year. There are some, much like on Tower, some of the side streets for about a half a block or so are in the Transportation Improvement Program to receive some federal funds. I think to do a lot of upgrades with parking and a few other things, kind of that half block either side of Belknap. So that's an example of how the funds come back to this area via us. A very key plan that hopefully I'll be able to talk to you later this year or at some point is a port land use plan. Port land use plan for the whole metropolitan-wide. Very important. Hope this would kind of find its way into comprehensive plans that talks to how lands adjacent to the port, the docks, how they should develop, and maybe more importantly, what's uses really should not be right adjacent to the navigation, where the large ships come in and out here. So that's a very key asset to have, our land adjacent to the waterway. So we try to maintain that. I know the Port Authority is look forward to this plan. We're doing truck routes study. I'm just going to pop right to this map. Maybe it doesn't show this too well. Can't quite see all this. A little bit washed out here, but we've done truck route studies, and we still are starting that later this year. I tossed this map up here just to show the other item that we are getting into just now, and I'm not sure if there's an arrow here or if I got to hit something. Oops.
Ron, move the mouse, Ron.
I see. Down in the South Tower area, South Superior, we have done a corridor study there a couple years ago, talking to PED, transit, some bike needs, making that really a 6-lane width right-of-way, a little bit more safer. Bryant School crossings, it's resulted in, now there's a couple lanes of travel each way and a turn lane, a few other things that the city I think, are going to try to do over the coming years. But one thing that we're looking at now is the Highway 35 and 105, right down in there, and the development with the next Quick Trip that's coming at that site. And we're going to take a look at the signals there, possible with the development there of the Quick Trip. It might trip things to where a signal that's been looked at here in this corridor at a few spots over the years, and it might say, here is the spot for it. It's a little tricky with the rail lines there, should any infrastructure be implemented, but we're getting in the DOT involved in this study, and certainly the city is. We'll take a look at what the numbers would say. This may be the spot for one, and that'll be coming, well, it's starting now and over the next couple of months. So we are going to look at the whole corridor needs, but really focusing on that intersection and what's going to occur with access and the amount of traffic that's going to come into that Quick Trip site. So just a couple of other ones, and we've certainly worked with the county staff here too. They've asked us to look into a countywide bikeways plan. A lot of the need there is some wide shoulders. What county routes are most appropriate for wide shoulders, as was put on County B by Four Corners School a couple years back. We work closely with Northwest RPC, Northwest Regional Plan Commission in Spooner. They're our partners. Their staff there will likely do some of this work. They're our conduit for some of our Wisconsin funds. We get Minnesota funding, we get mostly Minnesota funding and some Wisconsin funding. That's this bi-state thing. So we do work with Sheldon Johnson, the director there. We'll likely be teaming with him on this bikeways plan, as I think has also been discussed here. We're also looking at, over the next few months, parking for this area. What are the needs in the mid to long term here, especially when courts are in session? And I know from just, as I'm sure most people do here, it can get a little tough here. The lot gets full and we're out on the streets. Is there something else that we can look at, really assess the needs, and then maybe some different policies, whatever could come of this? The county staff have talked to us and Northwest RPC and informed city staff that we're going to do a parking assessment here. We did one a number of years ago before this structure was built, so we're going to update that planning effort. I mentioned Belknap. We're just following along with what the DOT does with this over the next 2 years. There's some transit and bike and ped things that we are adding to that project. Was recently informed that at least some basic or some more reconditioning work is going to be done on East 2nd. East 2nd from essentially the Bong Center out. That's this city controlled, but also state is involved. The section of 2 and 53 from the Bong to out to Itasca. We did a plan there a few years ago. Access management plan. Again, often what we look at is some bike and ped and transit needs and auto. So we'll take that plan off the shelf and see what else we might be able to do within budget limitations. And lastly, I just wanted to talk about mid to long term things that we're looking at with regarding truck routes. As everyone knows, all the logging trucks barrel down Belknap here, and they're just moving through the area for the most part. We're going to see what else could be done. Winter Street is going to get some work over on E Street, East 2nd E, that kind of odd intersection. Next couple years, that should be better. Maybe Winter, which was the point of changing the signals on Broadway to Winter on Hammond and Tower. It's probably seeing a bit more use. It could probably see a bit more. We'll look at the neighborhood here. Maybe there's some recommendations we can have that kind of a traffic study for Winter Street, and then the longer term is just to see what else we maybe could do to not have Belknap be this truck route. At least have Belknap not be the through truck route. Maybe it's a business route. It's not unprecedented. The DOT has done this in different parts of the state. You're going to have a nice Belknap Street here, and you get 98,000 pounds barreling along it. Kind of hurts the lifespan just a little bit. So what we're going to try to at least put a price tag to and model in terms of what we can do is if trucks can come around, and they can do this now, they've done it in a detour situation, they come around and they come underneath the Blatnick Bridge, around by the DOT, and then begin to make a connection via Winter or maybe some other road, maybe a new road, certainly that would cost some bucks, but to get to Garfield, the roundabout is there now. Hopefully everybody is working with the roundabout. The MPOs usually in favor of roundabouts. They are safer. Maybe a little confusing at first, but large roundabout here, and of course it has a new leg on Garfield that goes up to Winter. That really didn't exist in that form before. So as this industrial park develops in that area, FedEx, well, that whole quadrant of that intersection should see more traffic. Maybe we can get some better connection for through trucks off a tower. There's a lot of rail lines here, so that's what could add to a cost with grade separation. But get them to where they want to go, Garfield, the roundabout, and out, or in, what have you, depending on if they're going east and west. And then therefore, they're not on the main drag and shaking this building. So a few things that are in the short term and the midterm that we're working with staff here and over the coming years, and that's what I have. I give thanks, and any questions?
Good job. Thank you for the presentation.
Any questions of Ron?
Just one
Mike?
quick one. Ron, Winter's to become a designated truck route. I know there's a few houses left on that route. Would they be looking at that to widen out Winter Street?
That's what we want to look at. I don't, on the east end of Winter, I don't think so. I don't think so, because that's a fairly wide pavement as it is, travel lanes and parking. I don't think so.
Okay.
On the north side, I think we're pretty good. Maybe we can shift the lanes a bit, because there's any disruption would be a little bit on the south side of that road. But I don't believe so. That's not what I've heard, at least a little bit talking with the state even.
Okay, thank you.
Counselor Sweeney?
Thank you. Do you know what the truck traffic on Belknap is on a daily basis?
Not offhand. I mean, I can get it. I'm not entirely sure, but it's fairly high. Usually a truck volume is 10% or so of overall. I think overall is somewhere in the range of 13,000 maybe a little bit more than that. So you take 10% of that, you're at 1,400, 1,500, and that's not accounting for, well, that's kind of overall trucks. A good portion of that, although I'm not sure again, are the overweight trucks. So it's certainly over 1,000, and probably more in the range of 15 to 16. That's my rough estimate, but I could get the numbers.
No, that's close. Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Any further questions or discussion? If not, thank you, Ron. Thanks for your leadership in helping us.
You're welcome, thank you.
If there's no further business to come before this body, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion is second, we stand adjourned. Thank you.